Well, 94-year-old Alice Tyler, she's doing all right, but she's clearly not staying in her home. She's staying with her son. Her home, it's in pretty bad shape. It's sustained quite a bit of damage. It happened yesterday morning and gave a scare to many of the neighbors. A large tree in Tyler's yard fell over, pulling down power lines and starting a small fire in her home. Because of the damage, Tyler wasn't able to get out of her room. Next door neighbor Chris Flowers says he saw smoke coming from her house and ran over to help, barely getting his shoes on, asking his wife to throw them to him while he ran over. He says after getting into the house, Officer Brian Durns from Savannah-Chatham Metro Police also arrived, and together they got Alice Tyler to safety.
And luckily she was okay when I got inside. And a few seconds after that, the officer, he showed up, and we had to move the refrigerator, some furniture and stuff, and he kicked out the back door, and then we got her outside.
Officer Durns stayed with Tyler on the porch until crews were able to arrive. Because of those live power lines, they didn't want to go over the metal fence, but he did wait with her until those power crews arrived. He said she was okay, but just a bit scared and obviously a bit confused. SCMPD says they don't know what caused the tree to fall down. It wasn't storming when it came down. And tonight at 6, hear from Officer Durns and his supervisor about why Durns deserves all this recognition that he's getting. For now, live in Savannah, Carlie McGuire, WJCL 22 News.
Flags.
Today those flags were green and yellow later in the day, but Tybee lifeguards say you always need to pay attention to them even if you're a very strong swimmer.
It's summer and that means people are out at the beach, but last weekend on Tybee Island, some people were caught off guard when they went for a swim.
We had 41 water assists, 34 medicals.
Tybee lifeguard Josh Janufka says that's not a typical weekend for ocean rescue.
That's a lot for us, yeah. We had a pretty busy weekend.
Water rescues aren't just limited to weak swimmers. Tybee lifeguards say anyone can get caught out in the waters if they don't know what they're getting into.
Janufka says swimmers often underestimate the calm-looking waters at Tybee.
This is not a pool, it's the ocean, so we have rip currents, we have tide, we have a lot of current here. So with the wind being the way it was and the current being very strong, it just put a lot of people in trouble.
Tybee visitor Eve Pugliese says she's not surprised that many people were stuck in the water.
Because I've seen red flags up and people be in the ocean.
Janufka says paying attention to those flags and listening to lifeguards is key to preventing a scary situation.
Everything we tell you usually has a purpose, so we're not just doing it to ruin your day or anything like that. Usually everything we tell you is for your safety.
Janufka says you can always go up to a lifeguard and ask them a question if you have anything that you want to know about the water conditions. The lifeguards study them every morning so they know what to expect when you're going for a swim. Live in Tybee Island, Carlie McGuire, WJCL 22 News. Emergency Office Director Kelly Barnard says between Bullock, Evans, and Candler counties, they get about 2,000 hang-up calls a month. And even though these aren't the same as prank calls, they still stretch the county resources.
This is 911. Do you have an emergency?
It's the standard greeting for 911, and nearly a third of the time, it's followed up by this.
Hello?
911 Director Kelly Barnard says since they've started keeping track, her office is averaging 2,000 hang-up calls a month.
Sometimes it's a pocket dial. They don't even realize they've dialed 911.
Bullock County Sheriff's Office Chief Deputy Jared Aiken says his office responds to hundreds of these accidental calls a month.
We don't want that 1% to cost somebody their life or to result in them being a victim of a violent crime or any other kind of crime for that matter. So
if you do accidentally call 911, Barnard says the best thing you can do, stay on the line and don't hang up. That way you can tell someone it was an accident and they won't spend time trying to call you back.
Barnard and Aiken say the hang-ups don't cost the county a large amount of money, but they do use resources.
it takes that guy away, and generally we send 2 to those calls because we never know if it's going to be a domestic dispute or something that's in progress when we get there.
And possibly tie up the line in a true emergency.
We're having to take time to try to make contact with those that it's not an emergency or that it was a hang-up.
Barnard says another factor in the hang-up calls, our 912 area code is very close to the emergency number. She says many people hit the 1 button twice, not realizing their mistake before getting connected to 911. Live in the studio, Carlie McGuire, WJCL 22 News. All right, thanks, Jonathan. The time is now 6:46. Let's take another look at some of this morning's regional headlines. South Carolina Governor Nikki Haley says she's against the idea of housing Guantanamo Bay prisoners in her state. Detainees could end up at the Naval Prison in Berkeley County. The Defense Department says it's weighing its options. Haley says moving them to any state would violate federal law.
I will just do everything in my power. We're talking about terrorists here. So without question, we are not going to allow South Carolina to be a magnet for terrorists to come here. And so it's a great concern. And the reason that I'm concerned is because I've seen the president skirt the law before. I've seen him kind of push us into a corner where it's really not legal, and he does it anyway.
Yesterday, Defense Secretary Ash Carter said Pentagon assessment teams are still evaluating possible U.S. prison sites. He said no decision has been made about where to relocate the 116 detainees currently held at Guantanamo. Also in South Carolina, a boy is recovering from a shark attack. Officials say it happened off the coast near Garden City Beach. The 15-year-old has injuries to his hand and leg. At least 11 people have reportedly been attacked by sharks while swimming off the coast of the Carolinas just this summer. You can find where the sharks are close to our shores. Head to our website, WJCL.com. We've got a link to the Global Shark Tracker. Look for it under the Web Links tab. And in Georgia, former President Jimmy Carter says he feels at ease. The 90-year-old has melanoma that spread to his brain. Earlier this month, doctors found the cancer after removing part of his liver. He was set to begin treatment yesterday. And new this morning, North Korea's leader is telling his troops to prepare for battle, declaring the country in a quasi-state of war. This comes after one of the most serious confrontations between North and South Korea in years. Nicole Killian is in our Washington bureau with the latest. New around the nation this morning, a series of landslides has claimed the lives of 3 people in Alaska. The landslides happened Tuesday in Sitka after 5 inches of rain fell in just 24 hours. Caslin Hatch has the story.
The sun is shining in Sitka Thursday.
We turn now to the latest shooting in Savannah. Metro Police still investigating after they say a bullet grazed a 2-year-old in the head. It happened just before 7:30 last night on Clearview Avenue. The boy was taken to the hospital with a minor injury and is expected to be okay. At the time, Savannah Lives Matter was rallying across town, and when they heard what happened, they moved over to Clearview.
There's a mother out there that's hurting. There's a father that's concerned about that child, and I put myself in their place. I don't even live in Savannah. And so, but I grew up in Savannah, so I said, shame on me if I sit out in Pula and be comfortable and do nothing.
This shooting comes after a slew of violence on Savannah's streets. There have been 168 aggravated assaults in Savannah with a gun this year. That's up 21% from this time last year. Yesterday, we spoke with Savannah Mayor Edna Jackson about all of this crime, and she says the community plays a vital role in ending it.
The culture has changed, and the only way you're going to bring forth changes is to talk to the people and encourage them to talk about the shootings, tell who's doing or who's breaking into cars, all of those kinds of things.
Mayor Jackson says outreach to young people is a big part of preventing crime. And we've been telling you about anti-crime rallies all week, and tonight there will be another one. Ministers in Action will hold a rally. Religious leaders will meet at 6 p.m. at the Holy Spirit Lutheran Church. That's at 37th and Reynolds Streets. People are asked to bring a candle in honor of a loved one or friend lost to violence. And tomorrow, pastors will meet at the corner of 37th and Waters Avenue. They're leading a new campaign called We Must Do Something. They'll walk through East Side neighborhoods sharing information on support resources. That's from 7 to 10 tomorrow night.